We rely on high-strength steel for pretty much everything. Our cars, our buildings, you name it. But what you probably don't think about is that the quality of that steel gets decided in this hidden, invisible war. It's a war fought inside a furnace against just unimaginable heat. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the unsung heroes of this battle, the refractory materials. These are the things that literally contain a man-made star, all so we can get the steel we need. Let's dive in. First things first, let's just get a sense of the scale here. The inside of a modern electric arc furnace, we'll call it an EAF, can get hotter than 3,000 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is just unbelievably, mind-bogglingly hot. Hot enough to vaporize most materials on Earth in an instant. And that leads to the big question, right? How on earth do you build a container that can hold a bath of molten steel that's hotter than lava, created by electric arcs so powerful they could melt a truck? Well, the answer isn't simple, but it lies in a really remarkable class of materials that are engineered to do the impossible.
Now, why are we even using these crazy hot furnaces in the first place? It's because the EAF is right at the center of a huge revolution in how we make steel. Instead of starting from scratch with raw iron ore, the EAF is basically the world's most powerful recycling machine. It primarily just melts down scrap steel.
And this chart, wow, it really tells the whole story. A traditional blast furnace spits out almost 2,000 kilograms of CO2 for every single ton of steel it makes. But the EAF process? Just 270 kilos. It's a massive environmental advantage, and it's exactly why EAFs have become the dominant way to make steel here in the US. Okay, so we've got this incredible furnace that's way more efficient and way greener. But let's circle back to our main problem. How do you contain that inferno? The secret isn't the big steel shell you see on the outside. Nope, the real battle is one on the inside. So here's the basic idea. You've got these huge graphite electrodes that create these massive electrical arcs to melt the scrap. But the key component, the one you almost don't even notice, is that specialized inner lining of the furnace. This is where our hero comes into the story. That lining is made of something called refractory materials, and the name kind of gives it away. They refract, or resist, heat and all kinds of abuse. You should really think of it as the ultimate heat shield, like a ceramic suit of armor designed to take a beating at temperatures that would turn that outer steel shell into a puddle. But here's where it gets really, really clever. A furnace isn't just a simple bucket lined with the same brick all over. No way. Different parts of the furnace face completely different kinds of attacks. So steelmakers use the strategy called zonal lining, which basically means they create a custom-designed defense system for each part. And this is where it gets super specific and honestly really cool. The roof, right? It has to deal with this intense radiant heat, so it gets high alumina bricks. The sidewalls are getting blasted by radiation from the arc and attacked by corrosive slag, so they're lined with things like dolomite, magnesite, or these advanced magnesia carbon bricks. And the bottom, the hearth, which holds all that molten steel, it uses super dense magnesia and carbon blocks. It's a highly engineered, multi-material shield. But here's the thing. Even this incredible suit of armor isn't invincible. Not even close. From the second that furnace powers on, that refractory lining is under a relentless, non-stop assault from multiple directions. It's always eroding. And the attack comes from everywhere. You've got chemical attacks from the slag. That's the molten layer of impurities that's super corrosive. You've got pure thermal stress from the raw heat of the arcs. Then there's mechanical erosion, literally tons of scrap metal being dropped in and the violent churning of liquid steel. It is a true war of attrition happening at a microscopic level. So here's the twist. What do you think happens when tiny little pieces of that refractory lining break off? They don't just vanish. They fall directly into the molten steel. And that's the exact moment when the furnace's shield can become a liability, creating a huge problem for the quality of the steel. These tiny, unwanted particles are called non-metallic inclusions. The best way to think of them is as impurities, like microscopic specks of ceramic or gunk that get trapped inside the steel as it cools down, and they are the absolute enemy of high-quality steel. And where do a lot of these nasty little things come from? You guessed it, they are a direct result of that refractory wall eroding away. The very shield that's protecting the steel can actually become one of its biggest contaminants. Okay, take a look at this. This right here is what we're talking about. It's a micrograph, a super magnified image of steel, and those dark, stretched out blobs, Those are non-metallic inclusions. They might look small, but they act like tiny, microscopic weak points that compromise the entire structure. It's literally like putting grit into a high-performance engine. And believe me, the fallout from this is a huge deal. These inclusions make the steel less tough, less able to handle an impact. They destroy its fatigue life, which is absolutely critical for parts like bearings or axles that are constantly under stress. They can even cause cracks when you try to weld the steel. This is why you hear engineers talk about clean steel. It's not just some buzzword, it's an absolute necessity. Okay, so things look pretty tough, right? You've got this constant battle between the furnace lining and the very steel it's trying to protect. So how do steelmakers actually win this fight? Well, they fight back with a really sophisticated two-part strategy that's all about advanced materials and smart operations.
The strategy is pretty simple in theory, but way more complex to actually do. Step 1. Get better armor. That means using high-performance materials like those magnesia carbon bricks we talked about, which have way better resistance. Step 2. Use smarter tactics. This means actively controlling the furnace environment to protect that armor in the first place.
And one of the most important and clever tactics they use is creating something called a foaming slag. They actually inject carbon into that slag layer. The carbon reacts with oxides in the slag and creates bubbles of carbon monoxide gas. And these bubbles make the slag foam up and expand, kind of like the head on a beer. This is just a brilliant move. That foamy slag acts like a big, puffy, insulating blanket. It physically shields the refractory walls from the raw heat of the arc. It traps heat down in the molten steel, which makes the whole thing more energy efficient. It even helps stabilize the arc itself. It's a total win-win-win. You protect the furnace, save energy, and improve the whole process. So when you put it all together, you can really see the evolution here. We've gone from just slapping a uniform lining in a furnace to using these incredibly engineered zonal linings. We've shifted from just reacting to what the slag is doing to proactively controlling its chemistry with amazing techniques like foaming slag. It all comes down to precision and control. That's the secret to modern, high-quality steel. So, at the end of the day, what this all really shows us is that making the advanced steel that builds our modern world, it's not just a brute force process of melting metal. It's a delicate, constant war against contamination, a battle of chemistry and physics, fought on a microscopic battlefield inside a controlled inferno.